1, 2, 3, 4. Hello friends, and welcome back to Swiftlessons for another blues guitar tutorial. In today's session, I'm going to be teaching you 5 of my go-to turnaround riffs in the key of A. And in the process, we're going to be getting a lot of work with our hybrid picking and also learning some very useful chord shapes up and down the fretboard. You can follow along using my tablature at patreon.com/swiftlessons, support the channel there, and gain access to a ton of extra resources for all my popular YouTube guitar lessons. Now, let's get started. Okay, a close look at the fretboard, getting started breaking down 5 must-know turnaround riffs that you can play in the key of A. Example number 1 is a very common walk-up riff. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that began coming out of the tail end of a 12-bar blues in the key of A. We had the 5 chord, E, or E7, played in the open position there. And we have the 4 chord, I'm playing it as a D9 chord shape. And we're just adding a little bit of rhythm and picking to this. This will provide kind of a segue into each of these respective turnarounds. Okay, so the same musical scenario for each turnaround. So let's begin by learning that. Again, it sounds like this. All right, and then from there, you can let the turnaround rip. Okay, so that began with an E7 chord shape. All right, I'm beginning by striking the low E string with the G string, but I'm hammering down onto the 1st fret, that major 3rd of the E chord. All right, from there, we're onto the open E string. And then we're going to follow up with a dead slap of the strings. All right, from there, we're going to grab the open low E string with the B string. Now it's going to sound great if you can bend that B string up just a little bit to add some tension. Before going to the high E string open and following up with another slap. All right, from there, at the tail end of this measure, we're going to play the open A string, which is optional, but it sets up the next chord, D9. Okay, so you put that measure together and we have. All right, then on to the next measure for our setup here. Okay, so we have the D9 chord shape, frets 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, barring across the G string, B string, and high E string of the 5th fret. D9 chord shape. All right, we're starting off by grabbing the root, then an upstroke using the middle finger. We're going to grab the B string, G string, maybe a little bit of the D string. That's followed by a slap, and then we're going to do a double pluck, combining those 2 techniques, the bass and the highs, with that kind of paintbrush upstroke. All right, that'll be followed up by one more slap of the strings on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You put those 2 measures together and we have our setup for each of these turnarounds that we're going to learn today. 1, 2, 3, E. All right, that'll get you into your first turnaround riff, which once again sounds like this. Okay, so a classic walk-in turnaround. It begins grabbing the 7th fret of the D string. That's an A note, our root. And we're going to be pairing that note with an ascending series of notes on the A string. Okay, so that was 7th fret of the D string paired with the open A. Then we're grabbing C sharp on the 4th fret. A half step up to D. Half step up to D sharp, and then I'm just going to grab E on the 7th fret of the A string by itself nice and short before grabbing a couple of 9 chords. I've got F9, so we're just moving the shape that we had before on the 5th fret position and moving it up to the 8th fret position. So now I've got frets 8, 7, 8, 8, 8. We're going to strum that from the A string to the B string, nice and short, and bring it down a half step. Now I'm on the 5 chord in the key of A, E9. All right, from there I can resolve to any type of A chord I like, but just to make this a little fancier, we're going to apply one of my favorite chord shapes, the A7 add 13 chord. Okay, so that's the 5th fret of the low E string, 5th fret D, the 6th fret G, and the 7th fret of the B string. I need to make sure that the A string and the high E string are both muted. Okay, put that full turnaround together and we have. Okay, and putting it into context. Okay, great work everybody. Now we're moving on to example number 2. This one's gonna look and sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And real slow, just the turnaround part. Resolve into the A7 add 13. Okay, so it started off with 2 eighth notes on the open A. Then we're grabbing the 5th frets of the D string and high E string. And we're gonna break those apart, alternating back and forth, using my hybrid picking here. I like to slide up into that position. All right, next, I'm gonna keep the 5th fret high E string, but I'm going to descend down the D string to the 4th fret, grabbing those 2 notes together, plucking them at the same time. Same thing down 1/2 step. And then finally, I'm gonna go to the 2nd fret of the D string, an E note, and just play it once staccato. If I like, I can keep that 5th fret of the high E string, but it's optional. Put that together and we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right, from there we're on to the next measure of music, where I'm going to slap the strings and then set up the 5 chord, E dominant 7, played with a C7 shape transposed to the key of E. So I've got the 7th fret A string, 6th fret D string, 7th fret G, and the 5th fret of the B string, E7. All right, from there, you can resolve back down on that A7 add 13 chord. Okay, you put all that together and we have real slow, just the turnaround. Okay, and at full speed, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, moving right along now to example number 3. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, mixing in that augmented chord on the 5. Okay, real slow now, just the turnaround. Okay, so we started off again with the open A string, 2 eighth notes. Next, we're going to arpeggiate a piece of the A major chord. This is very cool. We're sliding up to the 6th fret of the G string, and then grabbing the 5th frets of the B string and the high E string, again, utilizing that hybrid picking, which is so useful. So 1 and 2 and all right, with the triplets. Next, we're gonna have this kind of D7 looking chord shape. Okay, we have the 7th fret of the G string, 6th fret B, and the 7th fret high E string. So, all Take that up a half step, and then take it up one more half step, and slide away as you strike all 3 strings. Okay, put that together and we have a measure of music. 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Okay, that gets us to the next measure where we're gonna have a slap of the strings and then throw in this really cool kind of oh darling shape. It's an E augmented chord. You can always apply the augmented harmony to the 5th scale interval, okay, for the 5 chord. Adds a ton of tension that drives you back to the 1 chord, A7. Okay, so that chord, we've got the 7th fret of the A string, 6th fret D string, and then barring with the index finger, 5th fret of the G string, and 5th fret of the B string. E augmented. Gets you to, all right, that very flavorful A7, add 13. Okay, put all that together and we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay, that's gonna sound great with a retardando slowing down at the end of a track. Okay, now moving on to example number 4. This one is more of an advanced turnaround lick, inspired by the late great Stevie Ray Vaughan. Looks and sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's a lot going on there, so I'm gonna break it up into 2 easy to learn parts. All right, the first of which sounds like this. Okay, so we have 2 eighth notes on the open A string. Then we're on to the C note, 3rd fret of the A string, open D, 1st fret, hammering up a half step to the 2nd fret. So far you have. All right, then the open G string. Good place to stop and practice. All right, then we're just going back the way we came. All right, so that was 2nd fret of the D string, down to 1, pulling off to the open D string, 3rd fret of the A string, followed by 2 eighth notes on the open A string. Okay, that's a measure of music and actually gets you into the next measure. So, okay, with the appropriate rhythm, real slow now. All right, from there, we're just gonna grab the low E string, 3rd fret, bend in that G note about a half step, and then playing the open E string before strumming through a basic garden variety E7 chord. That'll get you to the 1 chord, A7 for the resolve. Okay, put all that together and we have real slow, the turnaround. 1, 2, 3, 4, and at full speed in context. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, excellent work today, everybody. Now we're moving on to our 5th and final turnaround riff. This one's very interesting because basically we're harmonizing a very simple chromatic bass line. Using dominant 7, 9th, and also diminished chord shapes. I like to play this one a little bit slower. It's gonna sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that began with an A dominant 7 bar chord shape. Okay, I'm barring the 5th fret, E to E. I've got the 7th fret of the A string, and also the 6th fret of the G string. we're going to start by striking the root note, low E string, by itself. Next, we're going to hammer on onto the G string, 6th fret. I need to make sure that my bar is firm, so my elbow's inside, my thumb's nice and low. That allows my finger to be flush with the strings. Okay, if you need extra pressure, pull back with both arms and push your chest into the guitar. All right, so the bass note, the hammer. Next, we need the high E string, 5th fret. You can pluck that with your ring finger. Okay, next, we're gonna slide, pentatonic. That was low E string, sliding up to 9, then going to the 7th fret of the A string. You add that into the mix and we have. It's a good place to stop and practice. Next, we're going to a D9 chord shape. So basically, we're just hitting the root and then just doing that nice upstroke with the pad of the finger. We're gonna do the same picking technique to a diminished chord, D sharp diminished. This chord is very cool. We've got the 6th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D string, 5th fret G, and the 7th fret B string. This is a great passing chord between the 4 and the 1 chord. Very often you'll see. But it can also take you to the 5 chord as we're seeing in this technique. Okay, that's going to be the next move. So far you have. Alright, you're going on to the 5 chord now, bass, the upstroke, and then finally we're going to play. Alright, that was the F9, we've done this before, the F9, real short, then going back to the E9, before throwing together our A7, add 13 chord. You put all that together and you have your final turnaround for the day. It's a little complicated, it's a little tricky, but you're gonna get it with some practice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. All right, friends, thanks so much for checking out this blues guitar tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, big thanks to my supporters at patreon.com/Swiftlessons. Hope you're enjoying all those extra resources. And thanks to you guys, I got many more lessons coming up. So keep checking in, please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.